Year's not over. And I'll say it here first. I think we'll see six figures this year. This calendar year. Yeah. If you look at it, there's a bull flag forming with a downward slope. And when it breaks 73, it's going to squirt to 100 like lickety split. Just relax. It's all coming our way. And I mean, and this is without something, without an accident, without something, quote unquote, breaking. I mean, I think there's a high probability that sometime in the next 18 months, something serious will break, like the stock market or whatever. And, the bazookas will come out.
Bitcoin is on track to soar past $100,000 by the end of 2024, according to Larry Lepard, founder and managing partner of Equity Management Associate. Larry's analysis of the chart suggests that if Bitcoin can break through its current resistance level, it could be set for a rapid climb. Once Bitcoin surpasses its all-time high, it enters a price discovery phase, often leading to significant gains. Larry also points out that economic challenges could boost Bitcoin's appeal as a safe haven for investors, further driving up demand. He notes that we're currently in the largest stock market bubble in history, and though it could continue to expand, it will eventually burst. When it does, the fallout could benefit Bitcoin, as people may lose confidence in the dollar and look to Bitcoin as a secure alternative. If the Federal Reserve continues to print money to support the government and buy bonds, hyperinflation could make the dollar nearly worthless, pushing more people towards alternatives like Bitcoin. This could drive Bitcoin's price to unprecedented levels, potentially reaching $200,000 or even $1 million if the economy spirals as Larry predicts. Be sure to watch until the end to hear Larry Lepard's incredible insights on Bitcoin's current state.
You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
I tend to be of the David Hunter camp that we're going to go into a melt-up. Just that they're going to continue to cut rates, and it's this is the biggest stock and everything bubble in the history of the world, and it's going to, in my view, get bigger. But that doesn't mean that at some point it won't end. Right. And at some point there will be no buyers left, and it will end. And it will end very badly. And when it starts to break, I mean, they can't handle a lower market. And when the stock market starts to break, the negative wealth effect, etc., is going to flow through to everything. And as James points out, in 08 and 2000, when we had those big market downturns, the deficit grew between 6 and 10% because, tax receipts come down from the stock gains and costs and social costs go up. So, we're running a big 7%, 6-7%, GDP deficit right now. Imagine when that doubles in size, and then the bond market fails. And the only way to solve that is to go buy all the bonds. So, the Fed balance sheet goes from 7 trillion to, take 36 and add it to 7, right? I mean, there's really an unbelievable train wreck coming at some point, but until that time, hey, the band is playing on the Titanic and everything looks fine. Now, where's the iceberg? I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you one other macro data point that I think we should discuss, because to me, this actually drove gold in a big way, and I think it shocked a lot of people. Last month, or a couple weeks ago, they reported last month's federal monthly deficit, right?
Yeah,
it was $380 billion in the month. 90 billion more than forecast. They were forecasting a deficit of 290 and they came in at 380. I mean, and I think that was, I don't know if you remember when that occurred, James, but gold and silver took off like rockets when that was announced. And it's, I think, right. I mean, now it's, look, this stuff's lumpy, so you can't take that month times 12, right? But the point is, this is really out of control. I mean, this government is out of control. And you had a presidential debate where no questions were asked about the fiscal or economic, situation or balance sheet of the U.S. government. Nobody dares to go there. Right. I mean, it's just not talked about. And yet, there's a train wreck coming, a big train wreck. I mean, I'm writing a book, and this is the topic of the book, right? That, you've got to actually hold assets which cannot be debased, because we know, based on prior history, there are, 50 years of example that if and when that train wreck occurs, it would look like the Great Depression in terms of a deflationary impulse. And then we know that the policy response would be, we are going to print whatever it takes. And the Fed balance sheet, just as the Fed balance sheet went from less than $1 trillion, 900 billion to, 3 trillion over 3 or 4 years with, QE and Bernanke. And then it went from 3 trillion to 9. It's come back to 7 under Powell. The next one's going to take the Fed balance sheet to 25. And at some point, the way, and I'm not suggesting hyperinflation is my base case, because it's not. It used to be a complete tail risk. I'm now thinking it's kind of a 10 or a 20% case. But the way that hyperinflation occurs is when people lose confidence in the currency and they say to themselves, just get me out of this currency. I know it's worthless.
Right.
And, if the Fed comes in and buys the entire U.S. government bond market, which arguably it would have to do if the stock market went down 40% and the bond market sold off hard and interest rates went up a lot, you're on your way. I mean, and that's a 200,000 plus Bitcoin price going to $1 million. Have they really turned the printer back on? I mean, the answer is no, but they've taken a couple of steps in that direction. They said they were going to stop tightening. They did that when things blew out last fall, and they got scared that the 10-year was over 5%. So that 12 people within 10 days came back and said that the rate hike cycle is over. And now the rate cut cycle has started. And then they took QE and they cut it in half. Actually, more than half. They took
it
from
went from 60 billion a month. Yeah, 60 billion a month down to 25 billion a month.
Down to 25, exactly. And I predict that they're going to do probably 2 more rate cuts this year, and each one will probably be 50 bips. And the reason for that is that the interest expense is eating them alive, and they know it. And they've crafted the narrative in the way they have to craft it to allow them to do what they have to do. I mean, as James said earlier, they've got 2 mandates. They've got the inflation mandate and they've got the unemployment mandate, but they actually have a third mandate. It's not specifically in the legislation, but they've mentioned it many, many times. And that is what we call functioning financial markets.
Yeah.
and we know that when the third mandate comes into play, like it did in March of 2020, when the bond market went no bid,
right,
that they step in with enormous liquidity. And so, I think what we're waiting for is until that event occurs. And, Powell's going to have his own, Mario Draghi-like moment. He's going to be a deer in the headlights, recognizing. And the clue will be, the dollar will fall sharply. Bitcoin will be screaming.
As Election Day approaches and early voting begins across the U.S., Donald Trump is making a last-minute appeal to the crypto community. In a recent post on Truth Social and X, Trump promised to bring all Bitcoin mining to American soil, pledging to make the U.S. a hub for Bitcoin. He also marked the 16th anniversary of the Bitcoin white paper, aligning himself with Bitcoin's core values in an effort to attract crypto supporters. One of Trump's key promises is to end what he describes as Kamala Harris's war on crypto. He plans to remove regulatory obstacles hindering the industry and position the U.S. as a global leader in digital asset. Additionally, Trump has vowed to pardon Ross Ulbricht, the controversial creator of the Silk Road, signaling a shift in his stance on crypto-related figures and emphasizing his view of Bitcoin as a freedom-based asset. With battleground states like Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada in play, Trump's pro-Bitcoin stance could become a pivotal factor in his campaign. Now, let's return to hear more from Larry Lepard.
The flags typically fly at half mast, so you add another 20 points, 24 points to that, and you easily get to, 80, high 80s, low 90s, and it'll overshoot probably into the 100,000 range. So
you guys are feeling bullish.
Oh, absolutely. It's just relax. It's all coming our way. And I mean, and this is without something, without an accident, without something, quote unquote, breaking. I mean, I think there's a high probability that sometime in the next 18 months, something serious will break, like the stock market or whatever. And, the bazookas will come out. Yeah. I mean, I think they'll keep cutting rates. They'll try and keep things going. They'll try and keep the market up. And, it's like they've got the plates spinning and they can keep them spinning as long as possible. But I mean, this is where I really think David Hunter is brilliant on this. I kind of share his view that at some point a plate is going to drop. They're going to be too many things, and that'll lead to the market rolling over, stock market, and that's a big negative liquidity event, right? A lot of money goes to money heaven when the stock market goes down 40%. Everybody feels like they're not as rich. The economy starts to slow. People start to do layoffs, and just one thing leads to another. And initially the impulse will be what's going on right now, which is you buy the shorter term bonds because you get a decent yield. But as even James pointed out recently, the long bond has actually been going up. James has done much more forensics on this, but I think what he's discovered is that the demand for, the reason we've got so much short-term debt is there's no demand for the long-term debt. The suckers at the card table are the people who hold long-term U.S. government debt, knowing it's going to be debased. And guess what? The suckers are getting up and they're walking away from the table. They're like, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. Yeah. And so, and this, by the way, this is the exact same pattern that happens with emerging economies that go into debt crises. They get to the point where they have to fund all of their debt short-term, because nobody with half a brain would ever own the long-term debt of a country that's broken and out of control. And that's where we're going. And what people don't see is they think, well, this is the world's reserve currency. We got the biggest military, as Joe Biden says. This is the United States of America. Well, guess what? You follow the same stupid policies that everybody else in these emerging countries has followed for the last 100 years. You're going to get the same results. Your currency is going to go to zero. I obviously painted the black, scenario just because I want people to be, eyes wide open and fully protect themselves. I too am very much an optimist. The technology is going to save us. The technology of the internet is breaking down the information control structure that the powers that be have had. And we finally got people like yourself and Joe Rogan and Tucker and many, many others who, are challenging the mainstream narrative. And that's enormously powerful and is going to topple that narrative. And then, if you take that to the next step, this is money, with the same set of characteristics: distributed, free, fair, etc. And I think these two things are going to save humanity. I would just suggest, though, that between here and there, keep your eyes wide open, because this is a fourth turning, and fourth turnings are, extreme. The last one, we killed 50 million people. It was World War II. The one before that was the Civil War, and the one before that was the American Revolution, each of which, the rules completely changed. And so, this is the case of the first will be last. The Steven Schwartzmans will be, last, and, James and Larry are going to be first. And that seems good. I'm good with that. It's tough to put your head around something that changes all the rules.
Right. Yeah.
This technology changes all the rules. The invention of digital scarcity will go down as being, as big as the invention of the printing press or fire or, air flight. You name it, the telegraph. It's a big deal.
Larry Lepard believes we are at a major turning point in history, a period he refers to as the fourth turning, where society undergoes significant transformations. During these times, old systems and rules break down, leading to intense changes. He compares it to past cycles like the Civil War and World War II, which reshaped society. However, Lepard sees a positive side to this shift. Technology is empowering people to break free from the control of large institutions. With the rise of the internet, more individuals are challenging the narratives pushed by traditional media. He believes Bitcoin is equally revolutionary in the financial realm. Its decentralized, open structure offers an alternative to the traditional financial system dominated by governments and big banks. Lepard views Bitcoin as a potential key to financial freedom, helping people safeguard their wealth and gain independence in uncertain times. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these two awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.